quick one today. Looking at what to look out for if you're buying yourself a mini digger. There's all the usual stuff. Obviously you've got to make sure you've got a decent engine. So you're looking at, your usual oil leaks and things like that. But those are things that are pretty common to check for. You'll know for those. The reality here is that what we're looking for is issues with the hydraulic system. Rams, you need to make sure you've got no bends. There is actually a slight bend in that one there. You need to be checking for pitting on the rams, which will absolutely wreck your bearings and you'll end up getting leaks, and then if you put a new seal in, it's going to leak again. You're looking for play. Now, if we sort of go through the machine and look at where the where the most crucial play is, from an operator's point of view, play in levers is a real pig, because it means that you can't operate it anywhere near as well as you normally would be able to. Don't worry about pipes too much, by the way. Pipes can look nasty but can last forever. Don't worry too much about those. They're cheap as anything. I mean, the example here is that one there is probably about 6 or 7 quid. Don't go to somewhere like Blackwell. Go to your local bearing man or something like that. They'll do these really cheaply for you. Okay, so play you don't have to worry about. Well, you don't have to worry about. It's not so important. Here, up on the bucket here, I've seen 2008 machines looking like that. Up here on this, that can be annoying, but again, it's not too much to worry about. The Kingpost is a crucial one. So that is, I'm not going to start the machine because obviously you'll have trouble hearing me, but if you get the arm down and you just put some pressure on this Kingpost and see how much movement you've got here. If you've got a hell of a lot of movement down in this pin here, that can cause you problems. Now, while you're doing that, one of the main things as well is the actual slew bearing itself. So what you do is you drop the digger arm and you actually just start to lift the machine up. So you just start to lift it and just see how much of a movement you've got between the base and the actual main machine. Now the problem is if you've got too much there, you're going to find that the slew bearing's gone, and that's all pretty much impossible to deal with for your usual sort of person. Look at your hydraulic oil colour. Unfortunately, the port on here is is obscured, so you can't see it. It wants to be yellowy and clear, so opaque. Doesn't want to be white, doesn't want to be black. Quite often people will put used engine oil in. If you're really feeling serious about this, one thing you can do is you can go along, you can buy a hydraulic oil filter for the machine you want to buy. You can get the old hydraulic oil filter out from under there, put the new one on, take it away and see what you've got in it. Mostly if it's bits of brass, it's going to be the track motors that are on their way out, but bits of swarf can also be track motors. There's a load of things like that. Now, the other thing not to worry about too much as well is you see the swing, the slop side to side. If you're pushing it on the slew there, again, fairly new machines have quite a lot of slop on that side as well. The obvious things, it needs to be able to pick itself up on the blade, so you need to push the blade down and it needs to be able to pick it up. And then it should also, if you put the arm down, it should also pick itself up with the arm as well. Other things, it should stay up. So, now as it's sitting here with the engine off, the arm should stay up, it shouldn't drop down. That's something quite often they'll do, it'll creep down. But these aren't, hydraulic creep from the cylinders, so long as you haven't got pitting on the chrome, they're all fairly easy to repair or fairly cheap to repair. Your crucial problem is your pitting on your rams. At that point you've got problems because a re-chromed rod is expensive. A bent or a pitted rod is a problem. But other than that, if it's leaking and it's not pitted, don't worry about it, you can fix that. Other stuff, as I say, if it drops, the other thing to do is you slew it. You slew and release. So you spin the machine and release the lever and it should stop dead. If it continues on, you've got a problem because that's the slew brake that's gone. It's just not, it's not stopping it as it goes. Tracks and tracking. Okay, now tracks are very, very expensive to deal with. So what you want to do is you want to get a little bit of a, not a long run, but you want to get 25, 30 yards, and you want to actually run forwards with the tracks and make sure she goes in a straight line. If it doesn't go in a straight line, it means you've got a weak track motor, and a track motor can be an easy 1,500 quid. The other thing while you're doing that, by the way, is to just check and see, is to go forwards and backwards on each. So you go forwards on one and backwards on the other, and make sure both tracks are actually turning, so one's turning either way. Quite often if one is weak, one will stop and the other will go. So you'll still turn backwards, but you won't actually, one won't be turning. Obviously the normal things, nasty knocks from the engine, things like that. But that's an aside, we could go forever on that. Kingpost, cracks in here, look out for cracks in here. JCB 801 is very prone for that. A Kingpost is expensive and hard to get hold of, so that's something you want to avoid for sure if you can. Now, track motors. Tracks themselves, I mean, obviously you can tell with the condition of these, that's, normally there isn't a problem with rubber tracks on these, assuming that they're, if there's still rubber on them, likelihood is the chains are okay. Sprockets, again, it's a good sprocket on this one, but they don't often go on mini diggers. The main problem is leaks from the actual final drives themselves. Now, if you've got any form of hydraulic leak coming from behind this sprocket anywhere, so if it's showing on the track or it's showing behind under there anywhere, you've got a problem. Because what happens is that this here actually runs on a lip seal that goes behind here. Now if that's leaking, crap gets in. Now the problem is, if it's leaking, it's most likely not because that lip seal's gone per se. It's likely to be the track motor itself blowing hydraulic oil into here and then it's squeezing out the side. So either way, they are so expensive, these track motors. If there's any leaks, not a good idea. Other stuff, I mean, there's a lot of complaints about how much play machines have got in them, and to be honest, if you're not too fussed, you're just going to use it for sort of personal use, you don't really have to worry. You can rebush a lot of these. You can just you can weld bits back in and stop them doing that, or get bush kits, things like that, but I wouldn't be fussed. Your slew needs to be right, and your slew needs to be right, and definitely your slew bearing needs to be right. Hydraulic leaks, again, don't worry too much if you've got leaks from pipes and pipe junctions. They can all be fixed. It's things like leaks from, if you've got any leaks coming from, if you can see the valve block, so if you can see what these levers connect to, you can actually see the valve block itself. If those are leaking, you've got a problem, because again, those are almost irreparable for any reasonable amount of cost, if you see what I mean. So yeah, there we are. Well, I hope that helps, guys. It's just a bit of useful information in terms of what you should and shouldn't deal with, what you should and shouldn't buy. Pitted ramrods are dealable with, but they're not, you can't cure it, I mean, I've shown a few videos on what you can do, but even this here, which is fairly mild, if you're going to work the machine hard, you're going to find that it'll just tear the seals out. These machines are fairly robust, as I say. Kingposts, track motors, anything that involves the main sort of valve block, real big problem. Anything in terms of pipes or hydraulic seals that are leaking but not pitted chrome, you can pretty much do all those at home. A lot of the engines on these are small stuff, so Kubota 905, there's some Yanmar stuff, Perkins, which this one is. They're all quite easily affected by crappy diesel. So if you've got engine problems, quite often, or fuel problems, it's quite often due to muck in the lines, because they really don't like it. The Perkins 103 series especially hates that. Well, there we are, guys. Hope that helps.